Hello, how are you? Awesome Soul here, and I've got some very good news, because we finally have confirmation that the map that was discussed probably about, I want to say 2 weeks back, but don't quote me on that, has been finally announced to be coming out in a few days. So this is coming out on the 10th, presumably, by the date at the very top of the article. That's usually how they do it, they tease it out like that. And I think somebody said that it was going to be on the Thursday, because it's usually on a Thursday, which would be the 10th. So, fingers crossed that everything goes smoothly, because there's a few things in here that make me question if this is going to be delayed. Because, like, how could they possibly get these many changes out this fast? But I guess they've been in the works for a while. So, I guess I should probably actually get into the main meat of this, although there are actually 3 things that are equally interesting, depending on, well, what you're personally more interested in. So I guess I will start out with the big reveal, and that would be the map. Now, yet again, we only have a picture of the completed spaceship. We do not have a picture of the crashed spaceship. Now, what's also really interesting here is that, presumably, what we see in the image on screen right now is a 3D model of the completed ship. So why would they go to all of this effort to complete this huge, massive, I think it's a science research vessel, if I remember that correctly. Why would they go to all that effort to just put a crashed version that's completely mangled and all that onto the actual map? So are we going to be seeing this added to the skybox in the sort of building area? Because it definitely looks like, although they are kind of blurry, that this is a classification of ship. It's not just a one-off ship. So maybe they will use this for something in the future, but I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Something that did pop in my head, though, is this thing is outfitted with a lot of garage bays. So maybe we could get some building going on with multiple people. I highly doubt that, but it's just a random thought. I know the community has wanted that for a while, but I honestly don't see anything like that happening anytime soon, if at all. But oh well. So now actually going into the meat of the article, rather than just looking at a picture for a good 3 minutes, or probably more like minute and a half. Anyways, we have the tragedy in the Brecon Beacons. Very interesting name for a sector in space, but oh well. So essentially what had happened is, I'll just read it here, the vessel crashed while attempting an emergency landing in the Brecon Beacons. Military forces from both the CF and E-14 have arrived in the area, and reports suggest that CF forces have fired upon the E-14 rescue crew. So that there is obviously hinting at that this is going to be a map, and you are going to be fighting on it, because the blue team is the E-14, and the red team is the CF Alliance. Although that's sort of kind of very loosely tied into the actual game, it's more so just in the lore post, and even then, those are kind of something that you don't exactly take in seriously, although it definitely seems like they're trying to flesh out the actual lore now, and, you know, not just have it as this wacky, goofy kind of thing, although it still is a little bit, but I don't know. I'm just used to seeing the old ones where they would dress up in these zany costumes, but maybe we'll see more of that. I don't know. I kind of missed that somewhat. So going down, we do get confirmation that the actual ship itself is the ESS Vanguard, and it executed a jump from the Ophiuchus constellation before suffering a protonium reactor failure upon re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere over the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the Atlantic Ocean part is very interesting. However, it goes down to say, surveys of the site confirmed overcharged plutonium crystals rupturing was responsible for the reactor's explosion. So, I'm going to probably skip a few things in this article, but if you want to read it for yourself, link is in the description. Now, a lot of people have been like, oh my god, Atlantic Ocean, is this thing going to be just a floating map on the ocean? But then, like I said, it continues down to say, the site, which it definitely seems like it's going to be on land. However, water could possibly be implemented into the map somehow, because it's crashed over the Atlantic Ocean. So therefore, it would have to come down sort of in a trajectory and make landfall, but if you're over the Atlantic Ocean, chances are you're going to be ending up near a coastline if you do hit land. So maybe we could be getting some light water elements, if not sort of in the map, maybe off in the distance. Although usually Robocraft maps have just like giant mountainous walls all the way around them and you can never see into the distance. So I don't know, we'll see. But I still do think that it's actually going to be on land and not on water, because the ship's big, but I don't think it's big enough to be the entire map. And it's been stated that it's a crashed ship and you'll be playing around it. At least that's what I remember from the original sort of discussion on it. It was more of a teaser than an actual discussion, but that was done 2 weeks ago now, or maybe longer, I don't know. So the crash site has been dubbed Vanguard's End by the local troops. So that's essentially what I take to be confirmation of the map's name, Vanguard's End, which is a pretty neat name, I must admit. Definitely has a kick to it, or a punch, or I don't know, whatever analogy you would like to use. Continuing on with the story, it says search and rescue operations are underway in the area surrounding the crash site, but are being hindered by radioactive waste leaking from the Vanguard's reactor. Now that's a very interesting statement they've made there, and as Leafofer, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, has hypothesized, they think that this means there are going to be environmental hazards. And I first saw that and I was originally kind of like, maybe they would, but I mean, we don't have precedent for that. And the lava maps that were supposedly coming soon because, they were going to have sort of environmental hazards, obviously, lava and all that. They got pushed back a long way and we haven't heard of them since. So that's why I was kind of like, environmental hazards probably aren't going to be a thing. But they definitely do make a point of that here. So we could possibly see environmental hazards. I don't know, what do you guys think of that little blurb there if you've read the article for yourself? And something else that I'm not exactly sure of either is that basically I'm not really sure if this is flavor text or not, but what it's saying is the CF Alliance is trying to control the site in order to gain access to the Vanguard Central Core, which contains classified navigation routes to the dangerous Twin Jets Nebula. Now, that doesn't exactly mean anything on its own, because it's not a planet. It's not like, this icy Twin Jets planet or something like that. It's just a nebula. But maybe this will play into the story more? I don't know. I don't think it's that important, but I could be wrong. We'll keep an eye out for that later. And that's really it as far as the actual map stuff goes. But there are a few more things. So the Euphortech breaking news, a hemisphere-wide power outage on Mars was traced to a power module research facility near Olympus Mons, which is an actual mountain on Mars, if you somehow didn't know that. VP for Public Relations at Voltec Incorporated dismissed concerns, saying that it was nothing more than a mishap with the break room toasters. Yeah, planet-wide power outage. Somehow, I don't quite think that is being truthful. Within minutes of the power coming back on, Voltec trademarked the phrase ZenZap, hinting at a breakthrough in power technology. Now, that's very interesting, because there has been talk from Mark on Twitter of completely reworking the power module, because right now, a lot of players would agree, although I'm not entirely sure if I agree with this or not, that the power booster is necessary to make a viable bot. And it's really only required with the chain gun. Everything else is pretty much passable, whether you can use it or not. I mean, it helps, obviously, because that's what you're spending CPU on, but it's not required. But it's really just the chain gun that has problems without it. But this definitely does confirm, more or less to a degree, I'd say 95% confirms that we are getting a complete rework, or at least a rework of some sort, for the power module. Now, this could go in a few ways. it could be completely removing the power aspect of it, and it's going to turn into some sort of single target EMP, or it's going to be like an activated, quickly regain all of your power type thing. Rather than, just a constant buff, it's something you need to think about using, because, it would have a long cooldown. So you're in the heat of battle, you quickly press it, you've gained all your power back, you can start fighting again. But if there's another situation that would require it more, maybe you should hold it on for that. Like if you see 3 enemies in the distance, you would need to save it for that. I don't know, something like that. What other things could you guys see this power module turning into? I guess not, it won't be the power module anymore, huh? Will it be the Zen Zap module? I don't think so. It sounds kind of odd to me, but again, we'll just have to wait and see. And the last thing, which is also very, very interesting, just because the update is coming out fairly soon. Insider. Little bots and big bots fighting side by side. How? Well, I don't exactly know how they're going to tackle this, because the last thing that Mark talked about, and that was in the Dev Jam article that he wrote up. Basically, he was talking about how CPU right now is a real problem when it comes to matchmaking, because it divides players by plus 100 or minus 100. It's like every 100 CPU is a bracket, so it divides players 17 times, and that is not good for matchmaking, because it takes a long time to actually match people up, and even when it does, you're still going to be getting times where it's like, oh, wow, okay, I've been matched up with max CPU players, and I only have 1000 CPU to work with. This is terrible. How am I going to win? And then it's not fun for those players because they're not having a fair fight, and it's not fun for the actual higher tier players, because if they're on your team, you basically have dead weight, and that's no fun. And if you're on the enemy team, you're just going to be shooting a target that can't really fight back to the same extent as the others, and that's just no fun because there's no challenge there. So what he was kind of getting at is possibly removing the CPU to level tie-in, so every player would get maximum CPU. Now, like I've sort of laid out before, that's definitely a good thing, because I'm sure there are a lot of players out there that, join the game and they want to build these cool, fantastic art bots, like dinosaurs or something like that, or just, make a nice, beefy-looking mech, but they can't do that because they are locked in to their current CPU, and it does take quite a while to level up. So you've got all these awesome creations on the CRF that you can't buy or even look at because you don't have the proper CPU, and I don't know, I just think that the CPU to level tie-in has run its course, and we need to switch gears to actual skill-based matchmaking. And I mean, we have that already. There is an ELO system, so players who are really bad and or are new to the game will be matched with other players of the similar skill, but then you've got not only that to matchmake, you've got also the CPU ranking to matchmake as well, and that causes a lot of problems. So it's just a whole lot better, in my opinion. I know I'm kind of sounding like a broken record here, but it's a lot better to have purely skill-based matchmaking rather than skill-based plus whoever has the highest, level, aka CPU. And that's not really fair, in my opinion, just because the matchmaker, I wouldn't say it's broken. The matchmaker itself isn't broken. It's just that the fact that basically there are so many factors that the matchmaker has to pick from in order to actually match people up properly, and just removing those 17 times divisions, as stated in that article, will be a whole lot better. Now, back to the very first thing I brought up, which was sort of like time constraints. Now, a few people I've seen have possibly been saying that they have planned maybe 3 or 2 sort of general ideas, and we're working towards those things. Now, if you remember the video I put out a little while ago, it was the chip system concept video, and Mark actually responded to it, saying, "Thanks for this. I like your idea of having compromised CPU if you want extra power. Now, that's not confirmation that the chip system is actually going to make it in the game. It could be something that is inspiring them with a system of their own, or helping them add maybe 1 or 2 elements. Or we could get the actual chip system itself. We don't really know at this point. Now, the only thing we sort of know, I mean, it's not really confirmed at all, but that little insider sticker definitely hints at the removal of the level to CPU tie-in. Other than that, we don't exactly know if all of the things talked about in the Dev Jam #1 article will be true or not, but it definitely seems like they will. I don't know. What do you guys think of all of this? I know there was kind of a lot to talk about, and as usual, I've sort of run around in circles with my line of thinking, but I know you're probably sick and tired of me talking, so I will go ahead and get into the very last thing, and that would be, of course, the contest winner. Yes, that is correct. I actually did manage to gain access to the Spooky Bundle code. Of course, this was provided by Drognin, the community manager, so thank you very much to him. Now, there were actually 3 people that got close to the winning number, and the winner out of those, because, I would give each of those players a number, and, 1, 2, and 3, throw those numbers into another random number generator and pull out the winner. So, number 1 was the number that came up, and the winner is Spider 3005. So congratulations. I will be messaging you in your original comment asking for your Steam name or possibly your Discord name along with your ID. Which was basically the same way I got the other people to actually win their codes. So congratulations to you, and of course, this gives you 30 days of premium, 25 crates, a flat cannon, and a few other things. So without further ado, I will bring this episode to a close. Thank you all for watching. Of course, if you need to leave your comments down below, I will read through all of them as I always do. Of course, I've been the Awesome Soul. I thank you so much for watching, and I will be seeing you next time. Take care.